Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Matt Bradley as he shares his very own GV experience. So thank you, Matt, for being our kickoff team leader today.
Thank you, Carla, and welcome everybody. I'm really excited to share with you my experience on my most recent build to Paraguay in February of this year. I was able to get out there before we locked everything down. And I've got a few slides that I want to share just from my kind of like a picture type storyline, essentially, give you some background on my GV experience, how I got involved, and then also get into Paraguay itself and kind of, you know, the team that I had, my experience there. Luckily enough, we're actually able to have the host coordinator, Carolina, on the line as well too. Hello, Carolina. Good to have you here with us as well, so she can make sure I'm being honest with you guys. And then as well, just sharing videos of the week. So I'm really excited to get into that. So let me do that. You know, Paraguay, you don't hear a lot about it, and that's what actually really intrigued me about wanting to go to Paraguay. It was off the beaten path, not very well known, and we also hadn't sent an open Canadian team in quite some time, so that also, you know, the appeal of doing something a little bit different also sparked my interest. So that's why I decided to choose Paraguay. Also, as I go through this, everyone on the line, if you do have questions, please feel free to you can shoot them in the chat there, so you don't forget them. But as well too, I'm going to try and get through this in about 15, 20 minutes max, so that leaves us some time at the end, so we can do some Q&A. I'll keep a watch on the time as well too. Okay. So my GV story, how did I get started? I started with our university chapter back when I was in school, and I was asked to lead the chapter, and then I moved into some board positions with the North Bay affiliate, and then also with the Windsor affiliate, and then I discovered Global Village. My first build was in 2011 to Vietnam, and I caught the bug, as you all know what that's like, and I've been doing builds ever since then. And so the Paraguay one that I just got back from in February was my 10th build, and it was my 6th as a team leader. And next here, I'm skipping ahead. My very first build in Vietnam was in 2011, and one of the, I'd say, most memorable moments for me on that one, being my very first build as a participant outside of Canada, was actually the dedication ceremony, the dedication dinner. And you guys all know that we do this at the end of every build on the Friday, and still to this day this was the largest one that I've ever been part of. We were at a school which was just beside the area that we were actually building, and there must have been over 100 people there. And that photo down in the bottom right there is essentially, once I was kind of halfway through the school ground facing one way, and the other way behind me was just as many people. And just the kids and everything hanging off me like a jungle gym, and the food, fish head soup, traditional in Vietnam. It was just an overall incredible experience, and it just kept me wanting to come back for more. One of my most memorable builds, I hate to pick one because they're all fantastic, but one of my most memorable one was actually recently in Nepal in 2019. A really neat experience, if you all ever get the opportunity to do it, is we were able to actually go and visit a habitat owner that was the recipient of a habitat home, and she was just around the corner from where we were actually building. And this was one of those aha moments in life, you know, one of those kind of hits you moments. And she invited us into her home. She had painted it. You can see the white trim all the way around it, and we kind of made it her own. And it was just amazing. She walked us through, and she had maybe 20, 25 items, and everything had its place on her shelf. Everything had its place, you know, in the corners or on the walls. And it was just amazing to see how minimal these people live, even after receiving a habitat home. And she was so proud, 74 years old, you know, a single woman. Her daughter lives down the street, and she has her own place to call home. And the moment for me was actually, you know, we're in the Western Hemisphere, and just you still kind of look at that, you're like, wow, she still doesn't have much, but she was one of the most proudest people I've ever met. And so for me, that's basically what we're doing, right? We're helping people provide that. So that was an amazing moment. So I hope if you do get to Nepal, you'll be able to kind of take that experience in as well too. And then in Paraguay, so some notes on Paraguay specifically. They've got a really awesome program there. The housing need in Paraguay is significant, as it is for most countries that we build in. There's over 1.5 million people that don't have any homes or live in substandard conditions. So, our need as Habitat being there is super important. They've got a program called For the Future of Our Children, and that essentially provides the development through safe and healthy and durable homes that Habitat builds. And what's really neat as well too, I captured a little like blueprint picture there, and we had a really unique opportunity to visit the Habitat office in Asuncion as well. And their office has got all these different rooms with the construction people, the interior design department, and all that. And so when families come, because sometimes they have to come from afar, Habitat tries to do everything all in one spot there. And so it's really neat because they've got all the different tiles laid out across this one room, all the walls. And so families are able to, choose or, exactly kind of build their home to what they're able to afford essentially. So that was a really neat opportunity. As well too, Habitat Paraguay also offers the ability to build a traditional home, or also, like you might have seen in other countries, the ability to build on, or like progressive homes where they might maybe put a tin sheet down the back wall, and then once homeowners have the ability to add on, they can put that tin sheet up to the roof and build out. So they offer a couple different options, and they are small homes. They're not very large, 20 to 55 square meters, and as well too, like most places, you must have the land. So the families must have the land in order to build. And I'm going to get into my Paraguay experience. So I found this picture, and I just wanted to share this with everyone, but I'm sure we all have a picture quite like this. But on the left there, this is one of my volunteers in Nepal, and this is the homeowner helping us. And it just really signifies, in my mind, kind of exactly what Habitat stands for and what we do. And it's helping families build their home, right? And I think this picture is literally worth 1,000 words. And that's why I decided to choose it. And as you all know as well too, the one on the top right there, leaving is the hardest part. And so this was a family in Chile with the homeowner. She draped our Canada flag over her shoulders. And we were waving goodbye there. So it was really good to reminisce on all these moments as I was looking for photos. And so the family in Paraguay, this was the homeowner, Nilsa, on the right there. As with her mother, they were sitting out in front of her mother's home. Nilsa was able to get a parcel of land from her mother, and so therefore she had the land in order to build the Habitat home. She works in a grocery store as a store clerk, and what was really neat is she was able to actually stagger her shifts. So the owner was flexible with her, so that she was able to see us during the day while we were on site versus working all day. So she started really early in the morning, went to work and came home mid-morning, and then left later on in the afternoon to go back and finish off her shift for the day. So it made long days for her, but it was great to be able to see her during this as well too. Her son Lucio was also there, but I've got a picture of him there at the end. And here is my team. So we were a small but mighty team. There were 7 of us, including myself, from all over Canada, East Coast to West Coast. Some of them you might recognize from past builds. Some of them are really long-time veterans, like Ashton So there on the far left. And I also had a first-timer as well too, which for me as a team leader is always super rewarding, because I get to kind of set that bar high for them. So I love that experience as well too. And as we got into the build, we started with a blank slate in Paraguay. So we were only about a 20-25 minute drive away from where we were staying. And so we started with a complete blank slate. It was just dirt. And we marked out all the foundation lines and started digging. And so pickaxes and shovels, that was most of our kind of first day into our second day as well too, just to get all the trenches dug out. lots of clay as well too that we came across. So that was always fun too. We also, like most builds, had a ton of rocks that we had to move as well too. So I even remember in some other builds, the dump truck backs up and just unloads all the rocks, and you're just like, oh my gosh, here we go. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with this type of experience, but all the rocks are for the foundation, and so we had to move all those into the trenches that we dug for the week as well too. And this is just, I mean, we, you know, typically on a lot of builds too, you move dirt from A to B to C. This was one of those moments as well too. And so we've got Kevin to go there. He's been on quite a few builds, and Hillary Pucken there in the middle, shoveling dirt into the pails. As well too, we had to dig a latrine, and the target depth, from my understanding, was about 7 feet. And no, we didn't get all the way to the end, but I will update you of where we did finish off. So there's Ashton there slugging away with the pickaxe to build the latrine. And essentially, once that hole gets dug, is you build up the side walls with bricks and then plaster the inside in order for that to be the latrine. And then also on the far right there, that was just where we finished off with all the rocks going in for the foundation. And then next stage would be pouring the cement. Some other tasks that we had is forming rebar, very common across, I think, every single build I've been on. There's always a bit of rebar that needs to be formed. And what was also important too is we found some important shade for this task because it was very hot there. And also, no, Ashton is not sleeping back there. He's cutting some rebar ties for Kathy to get going. And yes, we had a cement mixer. This might be a surprise to everybody. This was my very first cement mixer. But let me tell you, it was interesting. It was a very watery cement, but that just made it get into all of the nooks and crannies of the rocks in the foundation. So mixing that on the ground, my goodness, that would have been very difficult. So first cement mixer, probably my last on a build site, but it was a joy to work with. And Hillary's there on the right. Another task was also, we had all these roofing tiles, and we had to kind of tar paint the underside of them from a durability standpoint, just to stop from breakdown, and also for sticking kind of to the tiles as they lay them kind of shingled. And this is Kevin. He's digging another hole that we had to build for is a septic system, actually. And what's really neat is I've got the finished product of what that looks like. And so there's Andrew down in the hole. He's, like I mentioned about the bricks kind of going up on the inside, and then you plaster the inside. And then we also made a roof, or like a cover for it out of cement. And we added our habitat touch to it, as you typically do. And so we all signed it, and it'll be there forever, covered in dirt. And so that's kind of like the septic system, and that feeds into the latrine, the bigger hole there that we didn't get fully accomplished. As well too, lots of material that needs to be moved, as you see on most builds. In this case, it was pretty well brick, so lots of brick, and also the shingle tiles. All this had to be moved back into the site in order for the home to be built. And then here is, I've got the foundation done now. And so what you'll see here is actually quite interesting. I haven't seen this in any other builds before, but those white kind of bricks is the masons actually use that to form the foundation, which is really interesting. So they'll put all these white bricks up, and then we'll put the rebar inside, and then put the cement in. And then what they do is actually knock those bricks off, and they reuse them as part of building the home. So what you typically might see is, wood forms, but they actually made this out of brick, which I found quite interesting, but it worked. It looked great once it was completed. So here's the update on the hole. There's Eric on the far right. We got him pretty well up to his chest. So it was definitely a task, and it took us all week just to get there, just with the heat and also with the clay. It was a very tough dig. But that was something we just cycled everybody that wanted to do it throughout the week, and we were pretty happy with just that. So And you can see actually Ashton in the far left there in his wheelbarrow, just taking a little sunshade there while Andrew's digging away. One thing as well too, if you are considering a build to Paraguay, I wanted to take an opportunity to just let everybody know that health and safety of your team in Paraguay is we were there in February, so during certainly a hot season. I highlighted there, the temperature was 36 degrees with that humidex at 42, so it was a very hot experience for us. I just would like to just remind everyone, take breaks as often as you can. As needed, drink plenty of fluids, and also monitor your team for signs of heat exhaustion. That can get tricky as it leads into heat stroke, which can be deadly. So just make sure you got a pulse on all that. Also, too, if you can move tasks to the shade, take advantage of that. We were lucky; we had a couple trees along one side of the property, and we were able to move some tasks into shade. And I'd say the most important piece here is obviously don't forget about yourself. If you go down, then that's not good. So make sure you pull yourself back if you need to, and just make sure that you can remain as your leader, as your team. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up with some special moments that we were able to get out of this build. Like most builds, there's always some kind of Canada flag that goes into it through the etching on the foundation. So we did that here with the date, and that'll be there forever. What was also great is the homeowner asked us if we could write well wishes on the bricks as well too, as we started to put the bricks up. So she was there, that's Nilsa. She was taking pictures as we went along, and so some of us were translated it into Spanish, and some of us wrote it in English. But that whole wall kind of had well wishes from all of us and signed. And so that as well will be there forever with her. And as well too, for those of you who know the Looney dedication, I typically do this on every build that I manage, and just the story with the good luck of the Looney going into center ice in the Olympics in Vancouver, and we won the gold medal that year. So we always bring this as a good luck charm for homeowners as well too, to cement into their foundation. And for the first time, actually, the homeowner, Nilsa, she presented me with her coin and asked if we could cement that in beside ours as well. So that was a really, really neat experience. And as you can see, we put that right beside the Canada flag that we etched in, and then she cemented over top of it. So it was there for good. Another really neat memory for me on this build was the homeowner actually took kind of the day or two before, she was running around taking pictures of everybody, and she actually gave all of myself and all the participants a photo of our build experience with her. So the team photo, a photo with her, and also while we were working as well too. So first time I've seen that, but that was really touching. Wasn't expected at all, as you can imagine. But yeah, that was a great memento for me to have as well too. And then with the dedication ceremony, you can see the top picture there. I've got Nilsa with her son Lucio and her mother. And like in most builds, Habitat hands over the kind of like that certificate of completion to each of the participants. So we've got Nilsa and her son handing those over to the team. And then also for the builds that I lead, we always bring a Canada flag, and we sign our names on it as well, and leave that with the homeowners as a memento. And also I try and get a framed photo of our team as well, which is right here that I share with the homeowner as well too. We all try and sign the back of that and give that as a keepsake for the family. What is really rewarding as well too, and I don't know if it's just because we're hosting this vlog series, but I was able to get some photos as an update from the family on their home, and so it is complete. It is standing. We must have done a good job, but this is Nilsa and Lucio on their front porch, and this is what it looks like from the outside. So pretty happy about that, and really excited to also get the follow-up with the pictures, because that's always really rewarding to share with family and friends, and also the team as well too. So Carla, as soon as I got that yesterday, I shot it right out to the team right away, because that's always good to have. So. But so that wraps it up for me, everyone. I really appreciate you guys listening in, and more than happy to exchange questions or thoughts or or anything that's on your mind that might have come up. I saw my chat thing flashing there. So I'm not sure if, Carl, if we want to
Yes,
go to the chat
absolutely.
or.
I will read off some of the questions that were put in here, and if anyone has any additional questions, you feel free to unmute yourself or pop them in here. Susan Dukeman asks, which university chapter were you involved with?
Susan, I went to Nipissing University in North Bay. So I was part of the Nipissing University chapter, which, and then I helped kind of amalgamate that under the North Bay and Blue Sky region habitat. That was back in, that was like 12, oh wait, what was that? 2008, something like that. So.
Amazing. Barb Bjornson asks, what is the airfare cost to Paraguay and which airline did you use? Do you remember?
Hey, Barb. I believe it was actually a United connection, because the times getting into Paraguay, I believe the most common flight arrives at like midnight or 12:30 a.m. And so when you do work with Carolina, there's some unique differences there around like the arrival date and that. So just be clear. Carolina is great, by the way. Just be clear on when your first kind of arrival date is, because if you're arriving on the Saturday, but you're not arriving till the Saturday night, let's say at 11:30 or midnight, then you're not really going to start your team, anything with your team, until kind of Sunday. So I believe it was United, and I'm thinking maybe it was around $1,400 if I can remember correctly, for the airfare for round trip out of Toronto.
We have Carolina joining us. So thank you for joining us and making the time. We definitely have a lot of praise. Great job, Matt. You know, the idea of the local coin being embedded with the Canadian loonie is, personally, I had never seen that either. So it's really nice. Not sure if anyone else has any questions, comments, or if you've ever had an experience with Paraguay and you'd also want to share, please feel free to hop on.
And I would also say, too, if there's any team leaders that are looking to plan a trip to Paraguay, I'm more than happy to, you can get in touch with me through email or phone, and I'm more than happy to sit down and chat through kind of my experience in even more detail. By all means, fire away an email or a phone call, and I can certainly find some time to chat with you guys.
Thank you, Matt. Kathy asked how many homes were built in the region. It says here, this fiscal year, Habitat Paraguay was able to build 334 homes. That is amazing. Scott asked, Matt, were you able to do anything post-build? Any post-build activity?
Yeah, we did actually, Scott. We actually ended up taking a really long drive. We went out to Iguazu Falls from Asuncion. It was about an 8 or 9 hour trip each way. So we went out Friday evening and came back Saturday night. And I asked the team on the way back, because we were in Iguazu for maybe about 4 hours in the park, and it was absolutely spectacular. And I asked everyone on the way back, I said, hey, this was a long drive. Like, if you were to recommend this, like, would you do this again? Everyone said hands down, 100% they do it again. So even though it was a long drive, it was worth the few hours to see something absolutely incredible.
I've personally, Paraguay is where my habitat journey started, and the program is incredible. The people are incredible. The food is incredible. Iguazu Falls is also just a breathtaking experience. It is quite a distance to get there, but it is a very memorable experience as well. Carolina, we have a lot of people saying they can't wait until they're able to go visit Paraguay and build there. Seems like there's a number of people that, you know, they're ready to go once we're able to.
That's awesome. And as well too, I'm honored to be able to be the first one to kind of do these series, but I would put the challenge out to everybody else. Like, I'm interested in learning as well too. So if you've got a build, by all means, like link up with Carla. Let's let's do more of these, because I'm interested in learning as well too. There's a lot of places I haven't been to and a lot of experiences I haven't had. So I'm more than happy to learn from everybody in this. So yeah, please reach out and do one yourself too.
Absolutely. And Natasha asks, are volunteers invited to these vlog series? That's a great question. So we wanted to first get feedback from team leaders. Therefore, at this very moment, this session was only for team leaders. We wanted to see what you thought, if you thought this was something that you would find valuable for yourselves, and also maybe the community of GV volunteers that you have amongst your networks as well. We 100% want to open this up to volunteers and the general public, donors, because we know that in the absence of GV, there's so many people that still want to learn and talk about their experiences. So we just want to get a couple under our belts, make sure we have all the timing, technical components right before we start making them available to volunteers. And hopefully our goal is to have them posted on the website, similar to the web flyers, so that people can register for one or multiple sessions that coincide with their schedules. Scott asks, Carla, when we start building again, what kind of changes are you expecting for team leaders? The truth is, international volunteer work will look very different from here on out. While I don't have all the answers to that yet, Scott, there will be changes, and those are things that we are constantly working with here at Habitat Canada, but also our colleagues at Habitat International, and truthfully every single sending and hosting program that is involved with GV, because there are so many moving pieces that we'll have to consider due to this pandemic and safety and security going forward. As we develop a more clear strategy around that and the changes that would impact volunteers, team leaders, as well as the communities that we work with, we will definitely start sharing that information with team leaders so that we're all on the same page and working together to implement some of those changes, because we will very much need team leader support to implement some of those changes with volunteers as well. Rita asks, when we start building again, do you think Canada Builds will be a focus? That I think is definitely a very high probability. Even when international borders do open up, like I said, there's so many moving pieces there that we don't know how likely it is that we'll have a great number of international builds. So it is more likely that there will be a greater number of Canadian builds, and it will also probably be that many volunteers might feel more comfortable doing domestic builds as we start up the program again. With that said, even Canadian builds, they might look a little bit different as well, as we also consider safety and security of volunteers just here within Canada as well. I want to echo what Matt said. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I really encourage you to take a moment and complete the survey that will be sent out shortly afterwards. I have a list of team leaders that had indicated interest in potentially doing a session. I will be reaching out to you. If there's anyone else, any other team leader that has decided they would like to also do this, please feel free to send me an email. We will always do our best to update the website, whether it's with feature stories that highlight the impact of COVID on numerous communities across the globe, or whether it's updates on GV. You will always receive an email from me, but we will also be updating our website as well. So we definitely encourage you to check out the website as well. And Matt, if you can just flip to the last slide, if you don't mind. We have a couple feature stories based on the impact of COVID in Jordan and also Vietnam. And as we continue working with hosting countries, we will update some more feature stories, but please also share this with families, friends, anyone who is just as involved with GV as well as you were. We want them to be just as informed as well. So again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I will follow up with the survey If there's any questions that you had that were not answered during this session, please feel free to email us. And thank you, Matt, for kicking us off on this amazing session. And thank you for sharing your experience. So I wish you all an excellent day, and we will be reconnecting soon for our next session, which you will receive an invitation for in the next coming weeks. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.